Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Who We Ood, an unofficial Doctor Who watch along podcast. I am Ben, and I'm here as always with my co-host Cameron. How you doing today, Cam?
See, you say always, but like there's going to be a time where it's like it's only going to be like one of us, or like there's going to be like a guest host. There is a chance that like one point it's not going to be always.
Technically,
We never know.
maybe one of us will tragically die, and we'll have to continue on the legacy alone.
We have to bug I don't know even like who like if it would Matt or Ryan like guilt trip and the other one. You have to guilt trip one of them to be like, okay, so they died. And they said that if they died, you have to carry on. So you have to watch hundreds of episodes of Doctor Who.
I mean, it's what Cam would want.
Like,
It was his dying wish. I held him in my arms and he said, "Make Ryan watch all of Doctor Who."
well, no, it's not all of Doctor Who. It's to the point of my death. So it's like he would be lucky if it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I just have to do the new series. So it's like we're already like so far into the new series. It's like okay, I can do this. It would suck if I died like tomorrow. It's like okay, you have to watch. Well, basically, now that we're almost done with the Hinchcliffe era, it's like okay, now it's gonna be downhill from here until the last two seasons
Mm,
almost.
I
So like,
mean,
good luck.
I don't wanna go into it with that mindset, that it's all gonna be downhill from here or from the end of next season. Because 'cause I'm sure there's good stories. The Hinchcliffe era is has, the notoriety and the legendary status, but, what's the next guy?
It's Graham Williams.
I'm sure he's got some good stuff.
Oh yeah, like Robert Holmes is still the script editor for season 15, or at least half of season 15. And then also Douglas Adams comes in towards the end of it. So like,
I think we've talked about it. I'm hyped for Douglas Adams. I really love the Hitchhiker books. Though it might be more like Dirk Gently humor, and I didn't vibe with Dirk Gently as much.
I'm curious to what you think because like yeah, like the Dirk Gently Shada, I think is like Dirk Gently came from I think Shada. I think he used a lot of stuff from it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Either that or the Cricket Man, something like that. That he reused the ideas.
I think you're right. Yeah, he reused some ideas.
But today we're not talking about Douglas Adams.
Not yet. Today, we will be talking about The Seeds of Doom, the final serial of season 13.
Not the Seeds of Death.
No, The Seeds of Doom.
Why did they have to name those two stories so similar, Ben?
Yeah, it's can be slightly annoying when you're trying to remember the name of them.
I swear to God, like if I ever did like Doctor Who trivia, like I would fail it if they were like, "What is the last serial of season 13?" I would be like, "The Seeds of Doom, Death." I don't know. Like I have it was like 50-50 shot of which one's right.
At least that's all we got. No seeds of decay or seeds of destruction.
First fun fact, I'll get into it right now, is that at a point this was called the Seeds of Doom. I mean, sorry, the Seeds of Death.
Really?
So, and then they realized that there's already a story called The Seeds of Death. So then they had to name it The Seeds of Doom. So imagine that version of history that they just named two episodes of Doctor Who The Seeds of Death. Do you remember what the seeds did for the Seeds of Death that much? I just remember like they just shot a foam, if I remember correctly.
What did they do?
Well, end of that story is just a lot of foam and Troughton just playing with foam.
That was the Ice Warriors one, right?
Yeah, that's the second Ice Warriors one. The one with the T mat.
Were they trying to like make the Earth habitable or something?
Ben, I like I said, all I just remember is the T mat. The T mat was very important in that story. And then
Yes.
it was very fun to see Patrick Troughton just playing with foam for the last 30 minutes. As well as I remember in particular, there's a very obvious, like halfway through the story, Pat just disappears from it. And it's so obvious that he just had the holiday that week. So they're just like, we're like, oh yeah, the doctor was in like a cupboard and was locked away that whole week. That's all I remember from the Seeds of Death.
Okay, yeah. I'm looking it up now. It's like poison or oxygen starvation. It uses up all the oxygen and you like instantly die because you suffocate or something. You're just trying to kill everyone.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking about the Seeds of Death. Seeds of Doom. This was broadcast from January 31st to March 6th, 1976. I think we've done this a couple times, but it is the 85th story overall, the second six-parter of Tom Baker's era, and I think this is a story that's deserving of 6 parts. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, we'll definitely talk more into that later in the episode when we get onto our thoughts of the episode.
Yeah.
But this is definitely one of those six-parters that justifies its length and is consistently engaging, which you cannot say about a lot of six-part plus serials of classic Doctor Who.
Yes. It does not drag, and there's multiple kind of like status quo shifts that
Mhm.
keeps things very engaging. This was, of course, produced by Philip Hinchcliffe, directed by Douglas Camfield, who previously worked earlier this season on Terror of the Zygons and did a bunch of 60s episodes as well as part of Inferno.
But, like, legendary, the GOAT of classic Doctor
Yes.
Who directors,
Oh,
and
oh
this
yeah.
is his last serial of Doctor Who.
Oh yeah.
Goes
And
on off on a high note.
I am looking at the list. Pretty much all of them are really great.
Also is the guy that kind of is the reason for very much a proponent of the creation of UNIT, I believe. He directed Web Affair, which was the first appearance of UNIT, and also cast Nicholas Courtney, the Brigadier. So that's very like casting the Brigadier is very much influential for the show. And this one of the classic show's biggest contributors overall.
Oh, yeah. Written by Robert Banks Stewart, who wrote also Terror of the Zygons and this story.
And it's also why the story and Terror of the Zygons are no longer on iPlayer because his estate must be like, I need all the money. Screw you, Doctor Who fans. Give us your nickels.
I don't know all the context, but surely he can't have like it's Doctor Who. Like what amount of money does his estate want that BBC said no, it's not worth it?
No idea. You have to imagine they get enough money from like I don't know how much you're aware of this, but like the writers own like the intellectual properties. It's not
Yeah.
like they own like his estate owns the Zygons. So like, I would imagine when the Zygons came back, they got a good chunk of money for that. It's not like that would have been a small amount of money. This is money that you're getting from like you're at this point somebody I would imagine is dead.
Yes, he is.
Like somebody that's dead, it's like it also allows people to see his work and experience what he did, and it gives it like a viewing eyeballs to keep him like still relevant today. It would just kind of make sense, but people are greedy, Ben. People are greedy.
I guess. I don't know. I'm not gonna make a judgment since I don't know the full context, but interesting. Hopefully they work something out.
You have to think it's like it is just him now. Well, him and like the person who should not be named. But you would think that like if all those other writers' estates would say yes to it, then they must really want the money. They want more money than those other people.
Do you know, is it's a really interesting scenario where, like, the writers own, like, what they create on the show. Is that still the case today, do you know? Is that, like, a weird UK thing, or is that just a weird '70s, '60s thing?
So I think that is still the case like today. Like the Ood, right? When the Ood appeared in season 6, when Russell left the show, it had a tag at the end of it said the Ood created by Russell T Davies. So I imagine that he must have got some type of fee.
It isn't just automatically BBC owns 100%.
No, it's still I think they still get a percentage. I would imagine at this point they would possibly also get a percentage of like the action figures. If like an action figure got made of like the Ood, I wonder if Russell got like that money. Like I don't know how much those like we don't have really access to those contracts, but I would imagine like if they're still getting credited for stuff like that, I would imagine they would own them. But I don't know the full details.
Gotcha.
The interesting fact is that like this was brought up when the show went to BBC, but I knew that a little bit off topic, but the writers for this new era of the show, the Disney era, they don't get residuals. They just get paid up front for their work, which I think is pretty shitty. I think that they should get paid residuals for their work.
Yeah.
But like it must be a Disney Plus thing that they don't do residuals for their work and they just pay their because it's streaming, they must just automatically just like, oh yeah, we just pay upfront. We don't do you really can't pay for residuals for a streaming show, you know?
I mean, they should. Like, that's why the writers strike in America.
It's harder when it's not like, something that's syndicated on TV.
Yeah.
At least in America. I don't know how British TV is like. But anyways, the Seeds of Doom.
Yeah, Seeds of Doom, Cam. That's what we're talking about
Jesus, this is
today.
gonna be a long
Oh, yes.
one.
So what to talk about first? Just what do you think of it?
Oh, it's great. I've never seen this story. This was probably this I was up there with Inferno for like one of the some of the biggest like blank spots in my Doctor Who like classic Doctor Who like watching that I just never seen before. I own the DVD forever, but I watched it like I think I've only watched like part one. I was just like, I'm on the mood for this, and then just never returned to it. I was dumb. I wish I saw this as a kid because I think I would have loved it as a kid because I love it now. This is a great story. There's a reason why people say this is a classic. Something that I wanted to just bring up, I should just bring it up now just so I don't forget, is that I don't know if you remember for Ark in Space, but Ark in Space, I mentioned that that was Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat's favorite stories.
Yep.
This Seeds of Doom is Chris Chibnall's favorite classic Doctor Who story.
Oh,
Which is definitely a case where you go, yeah, it makes sense. I definitely could tell. I could definitely imagine why somebody would say this is their favorite Doctor Who story.
yeah.
But like, it's great. It constantly has conflict, which is something for Doctor Who and the six part of Doctor Who I really appreciate while watching it. It's constantly engaging, even for a six parter and its length, and has a lot of great ideas for the Crinoids. It's a great monster. It and also like you mentioned before, like the setting change halfway through the story almost. Kinda like not even halfway. It's like it's a third through the story. It changes.
Yeah, but episode 3, we go back to London.
That scene change really makes it kind of feel more like a four pot, a two potter, and then a four potter, than rather than just a six potter. We only have like three locations, and we got to make it work with that. Though it like at the end of the day, it does have limited locations because like once we get to the mansion, it's like we only have like, a couple sets of the mansion set. They've used the like the trash compactor set a lot, and they've used that like the little cottage set, but like it's constantly there's an obstacle that the Doctor and Sarah has to overcome throughout the entire run of the story that just makes it an absolute banger of a story. What about you, Ben?
Oh, yeah, it is definitely a banger. I knew going into it that people liked it, but I almost think it's like I'm gonna rate this very high. Maybe not quite Genesis, but really close. Just constantly engaging. Has a lot of really great, memorable characters. A lot of I think like iconic scenes. This is a worthy season finale compared to like Revenge of the Cybermen.
Do want to add on there real quick of just like you mentioned the characters. I totally agree. It helps that also we have a wide assortment of characters. We have like the scientists in Antarctica, and then we are cut back to the what should we call them? The chase gang of characters.
Yeah. Jason Scorby and Keller and the little butler guy.
Yeah, and then we have like that environment agency. I forget the name of it.
I don't know, but like Dunbar and Thackeray, Amelia Ducott being a seemingly senile old woman who's actually doing like spy shenanigans. She was a delight.
And then of course we have Unit, which is this is kind of one of the sad things about this episode is that like what would have made the story even better is if Benton and the Brigadier showed up at that last like two parts of the story, and they were the
Yeah.
ones that were communicating with the Doctor to get out of the mansion, and that we're gonna blow up this fucker. Like it would have been dope. But sadly, of course, that didn't happen because Nicholas Courtney was busy, and I must imagine that Benton was busy as well. So, or they just didn't care about Benton. So we got generic unit guy.
Yeah, it's a shame. And this is the last a unit for a while, right? Till it and the Brigadier comes back later in Tom's run, like very late.
No, not even Tom's one. It's
No?
like a little bit in the Five Doctors, but like a little tiny bit. And then it's all the way to to Battlefield, which is the last season of classic Doctor Who.
I thought there was something.
The Brigadier shows up, but like it's literally just Unit doesn't come back until the Five Doctors, but like that's very briefly.
Gotcha. What the Brigadier does earlier?
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's what I must be thinking of then. Oh, poor Brigadier. If only he came back.
It would have been great. And also it would have been a good like start and end of the season of like it started with the unit and it ended with the unit. But like sometimes shit like that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well then, how should we proceed from here? Should we go kind of pseudo little bit chronologically?
Sure.
Let's talk about the Antarctica stuff first.
Yeah, let's just start off right from the beginning of like, what did you think of like the outs? How do you think that the limited BBC budget pulled off Antarctica?
What were they doing? Is it like was it CSO snow?
I was thinking the same thing because
Cuz like the snow didn't look it looked like it was just overlaid on top, like it wasn't
yeah,
really there.
for some of the stuff, and then other stuff like they of course had to like
Yeah,
take
they
the
had
snow.
like styrofoam that they could like dig through to get the
Yeah.
pod.
I think there was like some type of like video filter, but at that point, I don't even know what you would call it. I was listening to a little bit of the commentary track, and they said in the commentary track that like the beginning stuff was like a some type of sand, a place full of sand, like sand construction site or something like that. And then they just caked it with fake snow. And the fake snow isn't really that convincing. It's kind of a little bit too fluffy looking. Not even fluffy looking. Like,
It's like chunks.
yeah,
It's not like a powder.
no, it doesn't look like snow.
It looks like styrofoam or it wouldn't be asbestos, right?
I don't think so. Not this. Well, maybe at this point, but like the Tom Baker is 90 years old, so I'm thinking it's probably not asbestos.
True, true. But yeah, I think overall it works. It's not 100% convincing, but I think it works well enough for Antarctica. And it's mostly indoors when they're there,
Yeah,
in little insulated shacks, which is, I think, how I imagine it would look like.
yeah. It just kind of sucks though. They don't have like modern budgets because like modern budgets, you would see like the cold breath like in Antarctica and
Yeah.
stuff. Of course, like they can't afford that in 1970s BBC budget. But like that would have it would have been cool like nowadays to get like that real effect of like it being coming out from the cold and then coming into the heat. Like that would have been cool. But of course, with their budgets, you can't have that. And like you said, thank God that most of this is they're inside that army base, so it's not like the whole story is them in Antarctica looking for this crinoid. Like,
Yeah, if it had to be outdoors, but on a set for the whole time, it wouldn't have worked. Like, they can just about pull it off a jungle, but if it had to be that weird fake snow filter the whole time, it would've gotten old.
yeah. You know what the snow looks like, Ben?
What?
I forget if you said you ever had these, but like they look like Dippin' Dots. They look like white Dippin' Dots with how like they like come together and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're just like little white dots that like sometimes have like those bigger white dots. It just looks like the set is just covered with Dippin' Dots.
I mean, I guess. I have had Dippin' Dots. They have them at work.
Okay. I thought somebody was like, I'd never had Dippin' Dots. I was like, how? That's crazy.
I went a long time without having them. I was probably me, and I had them, like, when we went to Walmart or something.
Shout out though to that model. That model is actually pretty good.
Model?
The model of like the Antarctics of the base,
Yeah. Yeah, that does look pretty good.
for that budget, like and like they did a pretty good job like with the lighting of it. Like
Uh-huh.
we've seen much worse models in classic Doctor Who.
Oh, yeah. I think we have a couple this story.
Oh yeah, like definitely towards the end, it's like we have the mansion with the monster model.
Yeah.
Now what that stuff looks really
Even, like, a little bit of stop motion. We're jumping way ahead, but a little stop
great.
motion for the crinoid on top of the house.
Yeah, it's very much a step up from like the invasion of dinosaurs.
Oh, yes. They've got it figured out at this point, what they can and can't do.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's a shame that the story wasn't directed by Barry Letts because he would have gone ham with the CSO for this serial.
Oh, yes. Oh, we woulda had, like, people, like, glowing green. Anyway, Antarctica. What to do?
It's kind of where to have this conversation because I love The Thing. The Thing is one of my favorite movies. You, of course, have not seen The Thing because you don't like body horror,
Yes, I have actively chosen to not watch the thing.
but you must know from what the thing is that this is very much like the thing.
Yeah, I knew as I was watching, like, oh, this is from what I understand, this is basically the thing. Of course, the thing will not come out for like another 5 years.
Yes, but also the thing was based off of a movie that was way before this.
Oh, they didn't steal from Doctor Who.
It's not an alien situation where it's like, wow, we at least got you just stole from Ogden Space. No, this one is I think it's the thing from Another World, which I think if I remember correctly, also has an element to it of it's more of a plant monster than like the thing monster. Which is just an alien. I might be mistaken.
Is it a similar thing like for the thing? Like there's something in the ice that's been buried.
Kinda. Because the remake of the thing, it's kind of like there's a spaceship underneath the ice, and then another team found that spaceship, and then they got infected with the thing, and then a dog that is the thing goes to their base, and they just think, oh, it's a dog, and then it's actually this fucking outrageous monster, and the movie happens. You really should watch it at one point. You should just enjoy it as for what it is, man. Because it is one of the greatest movies of all time. Even though you're gonna be like, this is gross.
I don't like body horror. Don't like having to question my own humanity and like think about myself as a collection of organs.
I think like you would have much harder time watching The Fly
Yeah.
than you will have watching the thing. Because the thing again, it's like with the fly, it's like it's your body is this happening to you. With the thing, it's like it's not you at the end of the day. You're dead. It's just the thing just is like a shapeshifter. It's like it's taking over like it's not taking over your body. It's just
Okay, that's better. Doesn't infect you.
no. At least I don't think so. Like they never really clarify in the movie, I should say. There's just one scene where like one guy is kind of like he's getting like absorbed by the thing, but like maybe it is that is hinted that it just absorbs you and stuff. I don't know. Like they never. That's the best thing about the thing. The remake is that they don't go into it. But anyways, the Seeds of Doom.
But more tangents, Cam, more tangents.
Of course, they're just like that basic thing of just like we found something in the ice, and then of course somebody gets infected, and then they turn into a monster. Very much similar to the thing. I will say, like first off, talking about the Krynoids is I love the idea that it comes from like this pod creature,
Yeah.
and then the scientists being scientists, of course, would put it under like heat because they were like, well, I want to discover things. And like they would probably also be like, it's frozen, so they want to unfreeze it. So of course they would like heat this fucker up. And then it hatching because of that is very much a science fiction concept that just works at the end of the day.
Uh-huh.
Then of course it affecting one of the scientists is such a great like and it happens very quickly in the story. Like it's not even like by the point Sarah and the doctor arrive, he's already infected and the story's already started.
Yeah.
You would imagine a world where that was the part one cliffhanger is that somebody was infected with the seed.
Yeah. Instead, it's not just someone's infected, but someone is taken over, going on a rampage.
Yeah, which is one of the best things about the story. I think the story could have probably still worked as a four-parter in all of Antarctica. I don't think that would have been a bad story if they really just said like part one just ending with the guy getting infected, part two is the first attack, part three is the explosion, and then part four you have it be like they escape Antarctica, but the pod still follows them or some shit like that. Like you could have done a four-parter story that would have been solid
And now, instead, we got a great, tight six-parter.
somehow.
Somehow, against all the odds.
I want to talk about it now. The shout out, how much they improved on just body horror. Like, compare this to Ock in Space, which was just last season.
Oh, yes.
It is like first episode produced from Philip Hinchcliffe's perspective to like the end of his second season as a producer. He grew so much as just like, of course, he's not doing the makeup, but like he's and still in charge of everything. So like you can just tell that like he has to tell them like he has to be like the organizer of the ship.
Yeah.
It is such an improvement. Like night and day.
Oh, yeah. From bubble wrap to full on, like,
Makeup. It is makeup. And it looks great. It looks like he is transforming into this creature. It doesn't look like tacky. It still has, of course, like some charm to it because it is still a 70s BBC TV show, but like it's very solid when you compare it to Green Bubble Wrap.
oh, yeah.
And like you said, like the Green Death stuff, it's nowhere near that stuff. It's much more advanced.
Yeah, and then at some point he gets to be like a kind of an axon like vine creature.
Well, that's not that's not like it is an axon.
It is an axon?
Yeah, did you not know this?
Is it like the same suit?
It's the same suit. That's why it looks so similar.
Oh, I had no I think I dimly remember you mentioning like, "Oh yeah, they reuse it."
Yeah.
But they just had it laying around from like 5 years ago.
But like it works. Like you never like, oh, that's the axons. Like it kind of works a little bit better for well, not better, but like you buy it as this plant thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It works maybe even better than a flesh monster.
And of course the character options was very happy that they could make the figure and just paint it green.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have two different figures that they could sell people
Yeah.
for just making
Same
it
mold.
the same mold.
Cool. Now I know. And then I guess let's just talk about this. Then there's the kind of stage where it's like a huge kind of hulking monster by the end of part 4, walking around and it's got like a little mouth flap. What do we think of that design?
It looks fine. I think that the Axon version looks better just because like it has more ways that the actor can move. It still
True.
looks a little bit more human. Imagine being like that version of the Chronoids, the one that's like much way more less movable. Like imagine being that guy in the suit. That would suck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ben just sent me that iconic photo of the Doctor and Sarah in the courtyard, and behind them is the version of the Chronoid.
Yeah, I think I mean, it works as like an interim stage compared between the Axon and, of course, the creature that is, like, on top of taking over the mansion.
Yeah, the size of a mansion.
Yes, and that design is really great.
Yeah, and like something also I want to point out real quick because we probably will move on to it, but like towards the end, like they do a great job. There's a moment where that Chronoid comes into the mansion and starts like using those tentacles.
Yeah, like, it's going through the windows and stuff.
Yeah, and like it looks really like multiple points of articulation. It really is believable that this thing is alive. You could imagine like the very cheap version of that that is just one solid lump that just is evading. It's like no, there's movement to that tentacle.
Come a long way from Spearhead from Space.
Yeah, they must have been given the amount of time that was needed. So they must have had enough budget towards the end of the season. Also, yeah, just want to make that point. This is the end of the season. They should have ran out of budget by this point. But towards the end of this serial, you're never thinking they ran out of budget.
No. This is, again, jumping so far ahead, but, like, tangent, season 13, I think, as a whole, I feel like none of those episodes are like, "Yeah, this is, like, the bottle episode," or kind of a bottle episode where, like, "Yeah, this is the one where they kind of didn't have as much budget. This is just a smaller scale story." I feel like these are all, like, huge stories, a lot of like really good to awesome stories with a lot of great interesting set. There isn't really that much low points. Like I don't know how they did that budget. It must have been a miracle.
No idea. Because like the only one I would say would maybe be Android Invasion.
Yeah.
Because that one is just like the only set they had to build like they had to build the
The bar, the crawl spaceship, and like the village square.
yeah, so it's like, well, the village square is just like that's just a village square. So and then they have a lot of it is exterior.
And some wood stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so like I feel like that's the one that like if any of them was maybe more budget friendly, I would imagine. But like I totally agree that
Oh, and there's the unit headquarters too.
yeah,
A
like
lot of room, couple rooms there.
this is definitely the season where the team knows how to spend their money.
I guess, yeah, clearly.
And it's not even like it has a scenario where like Sontaran Experiment's kind of a budget episode, and then as well as Revenge of the Cybermen, just reusing the same set is a budget episode. This one, it's like you feel none of that.
No, it's very solid all the way through.
But the scientist, Ben.
Yes, all the way back to Antarctica.
This is going to be a long one, ladies and gentlemen. We're recording. This is already like pretty much like we have done podcasts that has ended by this point, and we're still at like 10 minutes in. We haven't even talked about like the Doctor has entered Antarctica by this point.
Yeah.
Let's just go to like, what did you think of the scientists, Ben?
Yeah, they're good. One kind of, I think, scene that really stands out in those first 2 episodes I think it's the first one where they have determined that the best course of action is to amputate the infected person's leg arm, whatever that guy is. And none of them are doctors except for one, the doctor. One of them says, "What about you? You're a doctor." And the doctor says, "You must help yourself." And so another guy, he's like, "I'm not a surgeon, but I'll try." What do you think of that? You must help yourself.
Oh, it's great. Also, it doesn't really make sense in some ways also because it's like, "Doctor, you help the human race all the time." And it's not like this is like a big decision that's like, "The human race has to decide this decision on themselves. I can't interfere." It's like, "No, this guy just he's here to cut off this guy's arm." Like, "You have done worse, doctor. You have done worse in this story." I like that whole element also to that scene that you didn't mention, that he's like zoologist, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. So he like they were like trying to claim it's like, no, you don't like you are the best. You know how to work a scalpel.
You know, anatomy.
Like you can do this. It's a scene that like feels like something that could work as an adult drama as much as it can work as a children's TV show.
I know we said we're gonna talk about Antarctica, but I wanna interject. This story, I feel, is one that first who's the woman that was, like, saying Doctor Who's too violent?
Mary Whitehouse.
This is a story I feel like I understood Mary Whitehouse's position. Like, this is a really dark, violent story. Like, Crinoid is pretty terrible, and then, like, the composter,
Mhm.
the way Chase dies,
Oh
getting,
yeah.
like, crushed up and ground up, like, we don't see or hear anything, but,
No,
like,
we hear we hear we don't hear like
I mean,
the
we don't hear
bones.
his bones snapping, being ground up to a paste, but we hear him scream, and Jesus Christ, that is a fucking way to go.
And then like the doctor's like, I tried. He was pulling me in.
And even using it as a threat for Sarah and the doctor is really intimidating and horrifying.
Yeah.
And then when someone actually does, even if he deserves it, because he's a truly terrible, horrible person. I get where she's coming from. Maybe we need to reel things back just a little bit for the children.
But, like, also it's so it's a story that you're like, this is a story that you could imagine that, like, the 10-year-old boys, along with, like, the 50-year-old men would have both been watching and been like, "This is great. I'm enjoying this." This is a story that I would imagine would appeal to all ages and all audiences.
I mean, yeah, sure. I suppose there's a grim fascination that children might enjoy.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I don't know if I'd want my 10-year-old watching this though.
But like you have to imagine also this is like Doctor Who is also something that's like people children under like 8 will watch Doctor Who. So it's like imagine a 6-year-old like watching that.
I don't want my 6-year-old to see someone being ground up.
Like also like the thing is like we can mention this sometimes it's like it's not a fantasy death. It's like no this is a real world like thing.
He wasn't zapped by an alien ray gun.
Also, like, that's not be a quick death also, like, that would start from your feet going all like, I don't know when you would probably just pass out from also blood,
Probably as it gets to, like, your torso and your chest.
but, like, that's a long like, imagine having to experience all of your legs being, like
That's a solid, just, like, 10 to 15 seconds of pure torture.
but also probably not because I would imagine at some point your body would just, it would be, like, in shock, it would just numb out all the pain, but, like, it would still be, like, be in so much agony and pain and screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mary Whitehouse. Think of the children. One of her biggest things was also that they showed how children how to make Molotov cocktails.
Did they?
Yeah, like the doctor uses Molotov cocktails in this story. So it's like,
Did they show him how to make them though?
yeah, I guess they would be like, oh, let's try this water bottle. Well, this doesn't work. I now my hands on fire.
Do we need to go back to Antarctica? Do we have more to say about Antarctica?
No, and just one thing I just want to point out is that I found it funny that like the doctor doesn't have any like winter coat or anything. He
Oh,
just wears
yeah.
his coat that he always wears, and he's just like, I'm fine, I'm good.
Oh, yeah, he's good.
Um,
Is that something that's known? Are they resistant to the cold? Or is the Doctor just built
Like,
different?
the Doctor's kinda just built different. I do love, like there's some hints at it as well, they're just, like their companion sometimes, like, dresses for, like, the time period, and then the Doctor's just always just wears the same clothes, which is something that, like, I'm kinda still mixed on the whole, like I don't know how much you're aware of it, but Shooty is a Doctor that changes outfits almost every episode. Like, I still don't know how I feel about that. It's like, I don't know, there's something that I do find, I do love that the Doctor just has, like he can change his outfits, like, even in season 13, he has a couple of
Yeah.
outfits that he wears, but he has that the 4th Doctor has a look. And same with the 3rd Doctor. The 3rd Doctor wears a bunch of different outfits, but he has a look.
Yeah.
I think Shooty does have a look, like, his like, I don't know how much pictures you've seen of
Not
Shooty,
that
but, like,
much.
that brown jacket version of Shooty, that's, I think, his look. That is his most outfit that he looks like the Doctor.
Yeah, and, like, the kinda reddish leather jacket.
Yeah, it's like that's his look right there. That's the Doctor running like his first episode. It's like he's running on rooftops, and it's just like, nope, that's the Doctor right there. But then there's other outfits that he wears. I'm like, that's not really the Doctor. But anyways, sorry, people. This is gonna be one that's off the rails. Like, thank God we don't do timestamps because I don't even know how you would timestamp this.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about in this story, but we're also going on a lot of tangents.
Yes, but before we move on from Antarctica, of course, is Antarctica. We get introduced to like the two of Chase's like
Yes,
henchmen.
Scorby and Keeler.
Yeah, what did you think of them? Well, who do you want to start with?
Let's do Scorby. I think he's a good kinda like I guess I'd describe him as like a meathead, kind of a big buff guy who's gonna get the job done, use a little bit more force than he needs to because he likes it. I think he works as an enemy and later on in the story as a kinda reluctant ally because it's convenient, we're all in this together, but I'm gonna stab you in the back when it suits me.
Yeah, there's like some great line that Tom says, something along the lines of some situations you can't blow yourselves out of. It's like something like that, which I really much enjoyed.
What do you think of him?
I liked him, but at first it was a little bit over the top of just like you can tell this guy really gets off with like the killing people and like being a bad guy. He becomes more likable when it is like he has to work with Sarah and the Doctor to stop this the big threat at the end of the day for and save three of their lives.
Once it's clear that Chase is just batshit crazy.
Yeah, and it just became like the part of that crinoid. I think Keeler is a more interesting character.
Yeah.
I definitely got that feeling from the very beginning when he was like showing the signs of like he's actually a good person. You kind of we have already set up there's a second pod. You kind of going like, okay, yeah, this guy's definitely gonna this guy's gonna get infected.
Yeah.
Did you get that feeling as well?
Not exactly. No.
I got that feeling of just like, no, this guy's gonna. When you set up a character like that, it's on the enemy's team that is so much of a, oh, but actually, guys, I don't know if this is the right thing to do. Or like, of course, like he's gonna be the one that's gonna get infected.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the other guy.
Scorby.
Scorby. It wouldn't be him because like that wouldn't work because he is just the muscle and like you still need the muscle with the other Kryptonite. So it has to be Keeler. And I think he does do his job really well. Like there's like that great moment where the Doctor and Sarah are both just like he's holding them up to gunpoint and they're just like you can stop now. And he's like the actor does a great job once he is infected and is just like Chase is egging him on, just being like, "But like, you don't understand. You're gonna be a crinoid. You're gonna join the plants. Like, be excited." And he's just like, "What the fuck did you do to me, Chase?"
Yeah, his performance there is really great. Just like desperation, like, please just help me. Don't just sit there and watch me. Really, really great. You feel for the guy.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great performance. Fuck, it's already an hour, and we're only like a third through the story.
I mean, we're jumping around so much.
We're going on a lot more tirades than we did on the Genesis one. Genesis really only talked about Genesis. Here we talked about like we've talked about things that I'm Doctor Who related.
Yeah, so what do you think of Blake 7?
Never watched
What?
it. We gotta start it at some point. Of just like we're gonna follow it along with Doctor Who.
That's the one that Terry Nation did, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Scorby, Keeler. Keeler's good. Chase. Let's talk about Chase.
Well, no. Let's before we move on to that, let's just finish Antarctica real
What else
quick.
is there in Antarctica?
Well, there's just like they explode the bitch, which is fun.
They do.
That they just say screw it. The only way you can kill a crinoid is just by a massive explosion.
Apparently.
So they just give us a massive explosion.
Do they try anything else though?
Not really. They don't really like attack it with like an axe or anything or like a guns. They just kind of just go for full on
Yeah.
explosion. Thank God, like the Doctor and Sarah, the next episode doesn't even have a scratch on them.
Yeah. And they're like walking out the door next to the bomb at like the 10-second mark. I don't know how they got far enough
Yeah.
away.
But also like no scratches whatsoever. Not even like any like ash on them or like
No, they're good.
they're just a little knocked out, just a little concussion. It's everything's good.
They're hardy.
But then we can talk about Chase. Chase is a good, just pure evil bad guy that has all the money in the world. I don't know if they ever talked about how he got all this money, but he does have all this money and he loves his plants, Ben.
Yeah.
Loves them more than I don't know, something that loves something. Like he really gets on about these plants.
Yes.
Like if he could be a plant, he would be a plant.
Yes. And he really prizes uniqueness. He really is just the epitome of evil. No respect for human life, humanity. It's almost a little over the top, but it works, I think.
Yes. It helps that he has like that core thing with him that's just like he just loves plants.
Yes, he like composes music for his plants in his
Yeah.
arboretum.
Which that music is just it goes also in that list of just moments of classic Who where you just go, oh god, this sounds awful.
But it's supposed to this time.
Yeah. It's not like the Solarian sound
Yeah.
effects. It would be a little bit way too corny and over the top if he didn't have like that core obsession to the character. But that core obsession it makes the character work just because it's like that's all you really need for that money rich just pure evil bad guy. It's just like, oh no, he just loves his goddamn plants. Like he just fuck humanity when you got plants with you.
Yes.
And like you said, just that pure obsession of just like wanting the crinoid all to himself. And then at the end of the day, like, I don't know, I kind of got lost off like what exactly happened to him with the crinoid.
He got like possessed.
Like they got partnered up in some ways, but also kind of didn't.
Like he didn't get like infected, but at some point it is clear that he is speaking on behalf of the Crinoid.
But also it's kind of hard because like that is just the character at the beginning was also just like fuck all these human beings. So it's just kind of like it didn't really change that much from who he was as a person.
Yeah, but no, yeah, he made contact with the Crinoid, came away unharmed, and was changed.
But it's more just like, all right, how much of it like it is just like he's still like fully human. It's just like he's in a little bit of hypnotism, maybe. But also it's like at the end of the day, like that's what I was trying to say. That's what makes it confusing. It's just like it's not like possession, because like that is still his like it's not like he's going against his motives.
Yeah,
It's just like that's who he is.
yeah, he's just batshit crazy.
I love his
He
plants.
loves his plant, but yeah, really great villain. Him and the Doctor, their kind of dialogue are all really great. One that I thought was really great is when the Doctor's captured, and he sits him down in front of the composter, and Chase is like really like not subtly but not explicitly saying like, I'm gonna stuff you into this thing, and the Doctor is like really standing up, using like dry humor and like not being intimidated. I thought that was a really great scene.
I agree. Okay, Ben. What to talk about now?
Let's talk about Tom. We haven't talked about the Doctor at all.
Yes. It's another performance from him, very serious performance.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned this before, but like Tom, when I look back towards his doctor, I'm always just thinking, oh yeah, he's the funny doctor. But at the end of the day, he's very serious a lot of the time. He's always saying, no, this is the stakes.
This is an end of the world scenario, and he really makes that felt.
Yeah.
He is like pissed at the scientists, which I don't know if this is like a Pyramids of Mars scenario and he's really just pissed in real life, or if he's just like being a good actor.
No, the only thing I have is that at one point he said he didn't like the script, but Robert Stewart Banks was there on set and then he had to apologize to him very, very much. And he felt bad that he was talking shit about the script, which I don't know why he was talking shit about the script. The script is really good.
Maybe is it Robert Holmes? Is he a script editor right now still?
Yeah, he is still the script editor.
Maybe he made some tweaks.
Well, no, this was on set. So like,
I don't know. But yeah, he does a really great serious performance that where you really feel the gravity of the situation.
yes, I agree.
Anything more to say about Tom?
No, it's a great performance. It's one of those performances that just makes the reason why Tom is the Doctor for so many people. He has the humor, he has that seriousness about him, and he has that element about him that it's like you're not quite human, and all that is shown throughout the story, like a little bit too much in terms of like he is very much an action hero at a point in the story.
Which he isn't always, but in this one, he definitely was doing a little bit of Pertwee action hero jumping through skylights, which he isn't always, but I think it was a good change of pace.
I do think it's weird that it's this for the second time this season he holds a gun.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a again, it's not like a alien gun, it's just a gun.
What was the other time?
He was an android, and this time it's the actual doctor, but then he does go like, "I'm not gonna actually use this," and he throws it away.
He doesn't I think the doctor can hold a gun as long as he never fires it. I like the idea that it's like, well, yeah, they don't know I'm not gonna use it. That seems like something that is clever for him to do.
It is weird that, like, Gabia, I believe, but, like, he does, like, try to, like, snap his neck, which is very weird. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Here's the clip. Like, it's not even us trying to snap his neck. He literally just snaps his neck, but somehow he's still alive.
Yeah, I guess he just does. But Scorby's just built different. He gets over it.
I guess.
Yeah, it's enough to, like, knock him unconscious, but not kill him.
It's some alien version of snapping somebody's neck.
Yeah. Special Venusian, maneuver. What about Sarah? What do you think of Sarah this episode?
It's another one of just, oh, this is a great performance from Elizabeth Sladen. She is just wonderful in this story. She's never that like classic Doctor Who companion trope of just always like asking the Doctor questions and is always is like screaming the whole time. She has agency. She's taking care of herself. She can handle herself in scenarios.
This one to me, she felt she was screaming a little bit more than normal, this one, I thought.
Interesting. I didn't get that.
Just a little bit. Being, like, covered with plants and, like, being kidnapped and tied up and being strapped to a bomb and getting kidnapped by Scorby and being, like, held up against the pot. Like, she goes through a lot and she's very vocal, and the doctor has to save her. I don't know. She does a good job for sure,
Yes.
but it was a little bit more of a damsel and less of a partner. Just a little bit, this one, I thought.
Interesting. I can like because at that one point where she is kidnapped, but she can take care of herself. She's just wonderful as always. Shout out to Elizabeth Sladen, the goat.
Yeah. What next? Feel like we're getting close.
They leave Antarctica. It gets exploded.
Are we going all the way back to Antarctica?
They go to Chase's mansion.
Before that, they get a car and the chauffeur tries to kill him.
Yeah,
And they find a painting in the back seat or in the trunk. It's seemingly a random digression to go to the painter, Amelia Ducat, to say, who painted this painting? What do you think of Amelia Ducat?
definitely appreciated the amount of time that she had in the story. I think if there was just went on a little bit longer, it would have got tiring. But I enjoyed her throughout the story. It's that they used her just enough that I'm like,
Yes.
I can get down with this. This is fun. This doesn't come to a point where it becomes too cringy that I'm like, I hear her or I see her and I'm just like, want to die.
Yeah, I thought she was funny.
Hinchcliffe did not agree. Hinchcliffe thought it was just padding. And when he did the novelization, he cut her.
Damn.
She's not in the novelization, Ben.
How could he do this? The OG, the GOAT, Amelia Ducat.
I don't think it is padding. I think it's fun.
Technically, she is cuttable, but like,
Yeah.
she adds to the story.
1000%. But then they go, we already talked about the whole compost
Yes.
like fertilizer shit. Very gruesome for a kids TV show.
Absolutely.
And then like just want to mention real quick the stuff with Keeler with the butler and like that cottage stuff is another stuff that is fantastic. And then basically Keeler then gets infected and becomes the big boy. And then it just basically becomes monsterverse.
Yeah.
Like what do you call it? There's a term I would imagine for it, but just like monster invasion of a house scenario.
You could say base under siege.
Yeah, it's kind of
Not the Doctor Who sense of base under siege per se.
like the Doctor Who base under siege, like me and you know what that means.
Yeah.
That means Hawk in space. That means
Yeah, but yeah, there's trapped in the house.
almost every Stratton story.
Every plant is a potential threat, which is an interesting thing. So the crinoid has the ability to control plant life kind of in a radius that will gradually expand, you know, assuming it wasn't destroyed. What do you think of that as a concept that it can control other plants?
You buy it. It's believable for this plant creature to also be able to use these other plants on Earth to its advantage. Also helps from the plot wise of gives Unit a reason to pursue because they get those like the reports being like, oh, all these people are dying. The gardeners, they're just all dying from their plants. We gotta go.
We gotta go.
It makes sense, and it's kind of fun when like they I think the doctor has a line of like all these plants, they're the eyes and ears
Yeah, yeah.
of the crinoids. And then so they have to take every pot and plant away from the place where they're going to bunker down, but then get locked out by Chase, which is almost like if you added some music to that and like a laugh track, that becomes a comedic a bit. And like I mentioned before, when it becomes more of the invasion of the house stuff, that there's roots that are invading the buildings that look fantastic, puppeteer wise.
Yeah.
And like we mentioned earlier, also the models
Yeah.
are fantastic for that. Really believe it.
I think we said we were gonna kinda go chronologically, and we didn't, but I think we hit pretty much everything. I think
Yeah.
we're just gonna repeat ourselves saying this was good and that was good.
The only thing we didn't mention was that they had the stock footage of the airplanes intercut with the explosion, which was pretty fun to watch. And also I think it worked pretty well, honestly. But yeah, overall, very, very good story, Ben.
Absolutely. I got 2 more things I wanna talk about.
Yes.
The Doctor is the president of the Intergalactic Floral Society. Thought?
It's a fun thing for the doctor to say. That is my thought, Ben.
Saying it doesn't come up again?
Like, it would be funny if just like
When does the Doctor have time to be the president of the Intergalactic Floral Society?
well, technically, like, the doctor could have, like, almost infinite amount of time, so, like, he could just spend one of his lives just doing that job.
Oh, we do get the funny line of like, "I'm fully booked for the next 2 centuries, but anytime after that."
Yeah.
He's got a busy life. Second thing, they end the story convinces Sarah to go on a holiday, which of course never works out well. They never actually get to go on a holiday. There's always something horrible happening. But they go back to Antarctica, and this is kind of a weird note to end on. They say like, so they find themselves back in Antarctica, and they say, "Have we been here before, or are we yet to come?" And they laugh, and then it's like, is that like a reference to something, or are they just being silly? I don't
They're just
know.
being silly.
It's not funny. Was it a joke?
I think it was supposed to be a joke. I thought the only thing I was thinking of just like, "Oh, poor Sarah must be, like, freezing." I hope, like, there's, like, a circle around the TARDIS that, like, gives off, like, some of the heat TARDIS's heat
Yeah.
'cause, like, she was, like, in a bathing suit. It's like, that must have been freezing in Antarctica.
In Antarctica, even for like 60 seconds, must be like physically painful
Yes.
when it's like -50.
But also that's the last that little bit. That's the last we ever got of the original TARDIS model. Well, not model, but like the last the original TARDIS.
I forgot. It's been the same one since Unearthly Child, at least on the outside, right?
Yep. So that's it. That's the end.
I'm assuming they put some fresh coats of paints on every now and then,
Oh yeah, like you could definitely tell because it changes color.
but that is it.
And then like the St. John ambulance logo, it was gets removed from it, and there's probably other changes to that, but overall, that base TARDIS is no longer. This is the last time it's ever used.
I see.
Reportedly, it was collapsed also while Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen was inside of it,
Oh, really?
which could have been that last scene for all we know.
Well, Cam, is it time? Is it time to talk about cliffhangers?
Give us the cliffhangers, man.
All right, first one.
Do 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 do.
The Crinoid strangles one of the scientists. I forget his name. I guess it doesn't matter.
Scientist cannon fodder.
Second one is Scorby's bomb blows up. The base blows up. The Doctor and Sarah make a run for it. Third one, the second seed pod is opening, and Sarah's being like held down on the table next to it. which is terrifying. Fourth one, the ecology guy Dunbar, who was like the, traitor, but he realized his mistake. He's attacked by the slowly growing crinoid. The doctor draws a sword to attack it. And the fifth one is Chase locks the doctor and company outside with the crinoid. What's the best one?
I think it's 3.
Sarah being held down?
Yeah, that's the best one.
Yeah, there's an argument for 2 as well. Baseball,
But 2 is kind of a little bit too big. You kind of going, okay, they blew it up.
Yeah. Third one has some, what is Sarah gonna do? How's she gonna get out of this? So Cam, how would you rate this episode?
See, I'm looking right. I'm looking at my rankings. And I think I kind of have to go by like, where do I rank this in terms of other stories?
Yeah.
Do I think this is as good as Genesis of the Daleks? I do not think so.
Nope.
Is this as good as Pyramids of Mars? I think I still prefer Pyramids of Mars. Is this as good as Ark in Space? I think I still prefer Ark in Space.
Really?
So I'm gonna go 9.2. I could imagine on a second watch that maybe I will prefer this to Ark in Space, but today I think I prefer Ark in Space. What about yourself, Ben? I assume with your reaction, you're going to be higher than me.
Think I'm gonna be a little higher. I think I like it more than both of those stories. Not as much as Genesis, but more than Pyramids, Mars, and Ark in Space. Just a little bit. But I rated those stories like a couple points lower than you did anyway.
Mm,
So I think I'm gonna go 9.4.
damn.
I really like this one. So the polls. So the Seeds of Doom very high. It flip flopped between 6 and 7. 2023 and 2009, it was number 6. 2014 and 98, it was 7. So top 10, not quite top 5. So one of the greats.
And in the 2014 poll, it ranked number 20 overall,
That's pretty good.
which like shows you how much like the Fourth Doctor era is good. That like it's the Fourth Doctor era that's not even the top 5. It's still like the 20th best story of all of Doctor Who.
Crazy. I guess the fourth Doctor's like good.
Yeah, but like yeah, I totally agree. Like this is definitely it's one of the best Doctor Who stories.
Yeah.
You put it in that top echelon of like if this is the best of 25 best stories, I'm like okay, I see it. And if this is like if somebody came to me and said that Seeds of Doom was their favorite Doctor Who story, I wouldn't be like shocked and appalled. I'd be like, you got good taste, sir. You
Yeah.
got a good taste.
Absolutely. So, season 13 as a whole, what do we think?
Overall, Ben, like this is highly regarded as being the greatest season of classic Doctor Who, or one of the greatest seasons of Doctor Who. Period. Do you get that acclaim?
I see it. Like we talked about earlier, like these are all pretty ambitious, very good to awesome stories. And like Planet of Evil is probably the worst one here, but like even that one is still good.
Yes. Like almost every Doctor Who season, classic and new, has like one or two duds that are very much like you look at the seasons overall and you go like, oh, that's a rough one. I don't want to rewatch that one. It's like a Colony in Space, a monster Peladon.
Yeah.
For me, at least, the Time Monster. These are stories that you look at and you kind of go like, that's a rough one. I don't really want to go back to rewatch that season because that's going to be there.
Yeah, this is a really consistent season.
It doesn't have a Revenge of the Cybermen that is like the rare one that you don't like. I don't want to rewatch Revenge of the Cybermen.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't be enthusiastic, but I would rewatch Planet of Evil.
Yeah, but I could imagine a world that I would rewatch Planet of Evil and say, actually, I kind of enjoy this more the second watch. Like I see, I get it now. Like if somebody said like if somebody came to me and said like they thought Planet of Evil was an 8, I'd be like I maybe you got something more out of it than I did. Like it's not like Calling in Space. If somebody was like Calling in Space is like an 8, bro, I'd be like like what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Or like Revenge of the Cybermen. Like I don't understand how somebody could say like that's one of their favorite Doctor Who stories. Like every episode of season 13 is just like if somebody said, "Oh no, I really like that story," I'd be like, "I get it." Definitely like the only one that I would say has competition from overall that we've watched in terms of Who We Ood is season 7, which of course has no duds as well. The thing that has going for it, of course, is that it only has 4 stories.
Yeah.
But I think 13 is better than season 7 just because it has more stories.
Yeah.
It has more variety to it. It's not just four stories that all like all four of those stories kind of have the same flavor to them, if you know what I mean. It's a unit story, a monster, alien race is invading. It's there's not a lot of difference going on with these stories. All of it has that gothic horror element to them,
Yeah.
but like a story like Terror of the Zygons is completely different from Planet of Evil, which is completely different from Brain of Morbius and Pyramids of Mars. But also like adds a consistency to them that like it kind of does feel like a season of a show that like you can totally see that gothic horror vibe that they were going for in this whole season.
It's very consistent, but also it has a lot of variety. I right now could see a world where this is one of the best Fourth Doctor seasons.
Oh yeah. Like I think we're gonna get to 14 the next couple of episodes. 14 also just like another season that has just pretty much iconic episode after iconic episode. Just having like Deadly Assassin, Robots of Death, and Talons of Wei Chang are just like those are three of the most loved stories of Doctor Who period.
Yeah,
And I'm excited to see what you think of them.
I am too.
We're definitely going to go more in depth, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of the whole Hinchcliffe era. We're going to do, after we're done with Talons of Wang Chang, we're going to do a Hinchcliffe era retrospective, and we'll do the same thing for once we're done with Graham Williams. We will then do a fourth Doctor overall, and then we'll then do the Doctor overall until we get to the end, which I don't know if we'll do doing all of John Nathan Turner would be interesting because that's all of 80s Doctor Who retrospective. We'll see when we get there, but maybe we'll do that.
Did he do all 18 to 26?
Yep.
That would be interesting.
And maybe we'll do since we'll now like once we do get to at the end of I don't know if we want to do Graham Williams era and then also after that do a full 70s retrospective episode. We'll see what we get there.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But next week it's gonna be an interesting one, ladies and gentlemen. What are we doing next week, Ben?
Next week, before we jump ahead to season 14 and the Mask of Mandragora, we're going to take a quick pit stop because you see, this is a chronological viewing. For the most part, we did some weird things like Last of the Gathering, but between season 13 and season 14, BBC released a radio drama, Doctor Who and the Pescatons. So we'll be reviewing that, as well as a slightly shorter one, Exploration Earth, which I think is technically released mid season 14, but we're just gonna lump it in with Doctor Who and the Pescatons because it's only like an extra 20 minutes and go from there
Imagine if we did a all like a whole 1 hour long podcast about that one.
on Exploration Earth.
Like just
I
imagine.
mean, if we listen to it this week and we're like, "Oh my god, Cam, I have tears in my eyes. This is one of the greatest pieces of fiction I've ever experienced. I need to gush about this for 6 hours." Then we'll see. But we're working under the assumption it'll be just like we can just combo it.
Oh yeah.
So join us next week for that Doctor Who and the Pescatons and Exploration Earth. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, follow us on TikTok, check out our shorts.
Well, actually, no. Stop, Ben. This I think by the time this uploads, but TikTok might be gone from at least our US audience.
I guess we'll see if TikTok exists. I'm not going to edit it out, so I'm just going to say that. But
You guys will know listening to this
yeah,
that if TikTok still exists in America or not.
I feel like TikTok can't go away. Like, they're no matter what.
Mass suicides on the street.
I mean, I feel like as much as they hate it, they're gonna sell it to somebody because TikTok is such an institution.
The one of the rumors is Body Kodak. He was the ex-CEO of Activision Blizzard, who was like very much like he had a lot of sexual assault allegations. But then I don't know if you know this, but Microsoft gave him billions of dollars
He does have a lot of money, yeah.
so he could buy TikTok with that billions of dollars.
I don't want another weird rich man taking control of a platform.
You rather want China?
Do I? I don't know. I don't know which is worse.
That TikTok algorithm be crazy though.
It do be crazy though. But anyway, support us. We really appreciate it. As of recording this, we reached 50 subscribers on YouTube. And yay, we really appreciate it.
Yay.
Maybe by the time this goes up, we'll be up to 1,000. Who knows? So have a wonderful rest of your day.
Peace out, everyone.